So what we should do now is do a brief introduction to our upcoming guests, Fabio Torta, the director of the Complex Forms, and Riccardo Amorese, the composer of the Complex Forms, and also the translator. So the Complex Forms is an Italian film, and the director does not speak much English. So we had to do our first time using a live translator on the site. Fortunately, or in one of our interviews, live interviews. And fortunately, the translator we were able to get was somebody who had worked on the film and was a friend of Fabio's, and therefore maybe could help a little bit and add even at points things of his own to the conversation. It's a very low budget movie, Italian movie, one location, black and white, and premiered at Slam Dance. Does not have distribution yet, but has been very well received in Italy and over here, and I would expect it to get distribution. So now, Giles, having given that sort of background, why don't you describe briefly in less than 5 minutes the film before we talk to Fabio himself?
Yeah. This is a black and white movie with a solitary atmosphere to it. The plot, as I describe it, an out-of-work cook needs cash, and a mysterious organization can provide it so long as he is willing to undergo temporary possession. In order to do this, he is ferried off to this deep in the woods, delightful but really empty cavernous villa thing where he and a bunch of other sad middle-aged guys who have really not much going for them except good health are brought there not necessarily to partake, but are paid for an allotment of time that they're giving the chance for this process to be undergone. And if forgive me for speaking mysteriously, it's best not to ruin too much. And also, frankly, not too much is made that clear, but in a way I found rather enticing. It's a wonderful black, white, and gray. Touches on and looks a bit like pieces of last year at Marienbad. The filmmaker cut his teeth with set design and so has a good eye for arranging things, and also with commercials, which is another great aid to visuals, because you need to get a lot of good visual in quickly for that kind of work. And yes, the composer who we'll be interviewing alongside him also provided a wonderful, very lush but not overblown kind of score. So very a lot of different times, as it were, in this, because it's contemporary. There are phones, but there's a sort of lost within this nebulous, past century or more elements ticking in. And of course, there are these delightful entities that seem to, if not inhabit the woods, then use that as their conduit to us. So it was a great kickoff for me for Slam Dance. I believe that was the first film I saw, so that augured well.
All right, and you did recommend the film, as I recall. So
yes.
All right, so let's bring on the director Fabio Dorta and the composer Riccardo Amorese and talk to them about the Complex Forms now that we've given you as much of a background as you need. All right, we will bring them right on in just a moment.
See you soon, Greg.
See ya. Hello, and we're back with Fabio Dorta and Riccardo Amorese. Fabio, the director of the Complex Forms. Riccardo is the composer of the Complex Forms. And we will probably be doing a little bit of translating between Italian and English here, but hopefully everything will work out fine. Giles will be asking the questions. I will simply be asking most of the questions. I will simply be stating which question we're on. We're going to start with Riccardo. Giles, would you like to ask a question for Riccardo?
Yes, hello everybody. Hello, Riccardo. Hello, Fabio. Thank you both very kindly for joining us. For those who don't know, and considering how new this film is, that's probably most of you. Riccardo Amorese composed the score for Fabio Dorta's The Complex Forms. And I'm always interested to know how musicians think because I have zero comprehension of the process. So I'm hoping, Riccardo, you might be able to at least briefly illuminate how you went about the musical score for this film, what you hope to achieve with it sound-wise, and your relationship with the director.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for having us and to speak about the complex forms. And Fabio is a very unique director in Italy because he likes to involve elements from fantastic, from supernatural, and this is a thing that we don't often do in Italy, in Italian cinema. So it was me knocking at his door, asking him if we could have a collaboration, and we started to sketch a lot of music even before Fabio started to film the movie, and then when the movie was done, we started to think how the score should be, and Fabio had a very clear idea of how the score should sound. He was always telling me that he wanted a sober and austere sound. He wanted no, how do you say, no silliness to that score. And what I tried to do was to use to make a score that could be written maybe in 50 years ago, not a very not something that would have sounded so new or I mean, it should sound new, but without being silly and without being too. So we started to see a late romantic orchestration, and we started to look for these dark, gloomy, and ominous atmospheres. Still, we didn't want a very horror atmosphere. We wanted also to the horrific stuff.
Nice.
I hope I answered.
Oh, yes.
I have just a sort of a minor follow-up question, which is, I think Italians are some of the best film composers in the world. My favorite Italian composer is Morricone and Nino Rota. I love. Who is your favorite, or who inspired you for this project? Riccardo.
For this you mean from these two or from other composers?
All composers.
Well, the from film I tend not to compose too much in a cinematic way in order to because sometimes cinematic music tend to be all the same. So I am Fabio pointed out Our Shore first movies with Cronenberg. And we also look at also the movie involved some cue from Borodin, which was which is a very nice composer. And I looked at him. I looked, maybe there is some Wagner in the score, and we had a little bit of Herman Berman and that's it.
So a lot of classical music. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let us turn to the Fabio questions, and we will start with Domanda Uno, which Giles will read in English.
All right, in English for many of our viewers and listeners. Fabio Dorta, could you please describe briefly the inspiration for this film, The Complex Forms?
Vai, Riccardo.
Ti chiede essenzialmente quali sono i tuoi riferimenti a livello di ispirazione per le complex forms.
Ok, intanto saluto tutti, scusate per l'inglese e grazie per questa intervista. L'ispirazione per The Complex Form proviene da suggestioni visive provenienti da decorazioni sacre, strutture che si possono trovare nelle chiese, in antiche processioni. Continuavo a pensare all'unione di questi meravigliosi altari decorati e queste persone austere, in attesa di qualcosa di strano che dovrebbe accadere. Il tempo, l'attesa e l'atmosfera invernale sono stati altri elementi decisivi. Paradossalmente il concetto di possessione è arrivato gradualmente, continuando a lavorare su stimoli di base. Riccardo?
All right. Fabio said that the main inspiration for the complex forms comes from sacred elements such as holy altars and holy procession, where austere people was there with a very serious, in a very serious atmosphere, waiting for something to happen, and he wanted to also put inside a lot of holy elements, which are often that often happens in the movie, and also the possession is not is an element that comes from these atmospheres of suspension. I hope it was comprehensible.
Yeah.
Indeed. Okay, we are going to ask Domanda Due, Giles, and I'll put up a still while we do that.
You have a background in set design. I read, I think on your IMDb page. I was curious how that affected the production of The Complex Forms.
Yeah, I understand. Come dicevo prima, ha influenzato totalmente il film. Infatti mi capita spesso di essere suggestionato da dei luoghi, delle stanze, dei panorami o singoli oggetti. Infatti nella scenografia teatrale si è abituati a lavorare in quella che si chiama gabbia scenica, che poi sarebbe il palco, che è completamente buia, da cui devi far emergere qualcosa che colpisca lo spettatore. E come scenografo non hai altri elementi se non le strutture, perché gli attori non ti competono, se non per il fatto che utilizzeranno questa struttura. Questo in parte ti abitua a partire dal contenitore per poi riempirlo di contenuto fino a prenderne il sopravvento.
Okay. Fabio is saying that he's very inspired by places, rooms, and soundscapes, and that they are often the main inspiration for his things and ideas. He compares the creative process to the theater. To the theater process, where you have the stage that is a dark place from which something had to emerge and has to rise and capture the eye of the spectator, and he is saying that it's like having it's like having a box, a stage, an empty thing where to put things inside.
Yeah, okay, that's a diorama, we call that.
Yeah, yeah. Ali del diorama.
Diorama, yes. So, okay, let's go to Domanda Tre.
What challenges, good or bad, enjoyable or not enjoyable, were there in working with this cast, which was entirely non-professional actors?
Le sfide, no?
Ti chiede sostanzialmente degli attori non protagonisti che cosa comportano.
Certo, certo. Ma devo dire che ho adorato a lavorare con attori non professionisti perché ci hanno aiutato davvero col cuore. Molti di loro ci hanno adottato. Vedendo che su set eravamo solo in 3 nella troupe, di cui 2 erano anche donne, è scattato in loro la voglia di darci una mano, come fosse una missione. Poi, non essendo professionisti e non conoscendo la storia del film, si sono lasciati guidare senza riserva. Alcuni di loro ripetevano le frasi che leggevo io, altri dovevano leggere dei grandi cartelli perché non riuscivano a ripetere le mie parole. Ma nonostante tutto, devo dire che siamo riusciti a portare avanti il film senza nessuna grande perdita di tempo, a parte qualche telefonata di parenti che arrivava nel clou dell'azione, però tutto è stato sereno.
Okay. Okay. He's saying that he loved working with non-professional actors because they really put a lot of heart in what they did, and they were so kind that they adopted Fabio and his crew of 3 members, and they wanted to help so much, and not being a professional actor, they were very open to Fabio's Fabio's suggestions and Fabio's ideas, and Fabio told them what to say. Sometimes he used a big panel to make them say things, and they were very nice, and they worked fine. They had some. They were a very they had a lot of parents also there, so they were sometimes interrupted by calls by people from their families asking how they were doing.
Yeah, yeah, so easy.
Funny, okay.
Lovely.
All right, we ready for domande? We're on quattro.
Yeah.
The creatures in the complex forms, they are quite remarkable. Could you talk a little bit about them? And perhaps in particular for me, what among things that stood out was just how covered with jewelry these creatures were and the thought behind that.
Allora ti chiede delle creature e di come un po' di cose sulle creature e su come mai interessa particolarmente come mai sono piene di gioielli.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Volevo che le creature fossero innanzitutto di razze e dimensioni diverse, con diversi modi di camminare e che sembrassero millenarie. Volevo dare l'impressione che fossero come degli dei, come se legato a ognuno di loro ci fosse un qualche tipo di religione o rito o credenza. Questo probabilmente è il motivo che mi ha portato a ricoprirli di gioielli e decori. È una cosa che si tende a fare in diverse religioni, il fatto di ricoprire statue e oggetti sacri di decori ed ex voto, che sono degli oggetti simbolici, che vengono donati alle divinità come impegno in cambio di una grazia.
Okay. And okay, he's saying that that he wanted to achieve um, a vast amount of different of variety about these creatures. He wanted to have like different races and sizes of this big creature. So they walk differently, they act differently, they look differently, and they should look like thousands years old, and like part of an ancient rite. And also that in many religions you decorate statues, and you jewelry in order to have something in exchange to your god. So that was more or less.
Okay. All right. Ready for domande cinque.
Well, keeping in line with wealth and riches, the villa that you filmed most of this movie in is quite amazing. I was curious how you found this building, and was it easy or not to get permission to film in such an elaborate structure there?
Della villa.
Sì, ti chiede com'è stato, diciamo, è rimasto molto colpito dalla villa, ti chiede come l'hai trovata e i permessi per girare al suo
Certo.
interno.
Allora, mi hanno segnalato la villa mentre stavo scrivendo un'altra sceneggiatura che raccontava un'altra storia, che si svolgeva sempre in un'unica location. Quando sono andato a vederlo sono rimasto impressionato. La trovo meravigliosa e con un lato anche un po' lugubre. Quel film poi è stato temporaneamente accantonato, ma mi è rimasta la voglia di girare qualcosa in quel luogo. La villa appartiene al comune di Chiari, che è un paese nel nord dell'Italia. E un altro elemento strano, ad esempio, è che una vecchia custode della villa molti anni fa è scappata portandosi via tutti i mobili. Quindi di fatto la villa è completamente vuota. Comunque il comune di Chiara è stato gentilissimo, dato che usano pochissimo la villa e solo per piccoli eventi, ci hanno lasciato usare la villa praticamente per un mese intero, pagando solo un deposito in caso avessimo rotto qualcosa praticamente.
Oh, oh, ok, allora Fabio was told about this villa when he was writing another project, another screenplay that involved the only one location. So he found the villa, and he thinks that it's marvelous, but ominous and dark. And the villa is in the municipality of Chiari, that is a small village in the north of Italy. And he said that the guardian stole everything, all the furniture and more, and I think it helped to give more suspense and give to atmosphere. And they were very kind in Chiari. They didn't use the villa so much, so they gave to Fabio the villa, and he had to pay just a deposit in order to just in case they broke something.
Gli hai detto della villa che è vuota, della custode che si è
Sì,
fregata.
he stole. Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
Posso dire che il tuo è un film, è un Kammerspiel di mostri?
Prego,
ti dispiace.
prego.
We liked the thing that the villa was just the only location that and it was in contrast with the creatures, and so we thought the movie has a Kammerspiel of monsters.
Well, that's always happy to hear when lucky breaks occur for filmmakers and their projects. That's great.
Okay. So we are on to Domanda 6. 6, Giles.
Okay. Yes. Sort of going back for a little bit to the first question, but more so in cinematic or otherwise artistic influence you might have had for the complex forms, directors or films you had in mind when you were, writing and then directing this project.
Ti chiede, come nella prima domanda, le forme di ispirazione, ma più a livello di cinema, di ispirazioni cinematografiche.
Sì, non c'è un'ispirazione diretta per The Complex Form, sono una serie di suggestioni, come ad esempio L'Esorcista di Friedkin, a cui pensavo spesso, ma più per i momenti di calma che per per la serietà, diciamo, più che per la violenza o la possessione in sé. Per lo stesso motivo pensavo spesso anche al cinema di Antonioni, che è un maestro nel mostrare il tempo. Poi l'anno scorso a Marienbad, ad esempio, è sicuramente un riferimento inconscio, poiché forse nessun altro film la location assume tale forza e presenza. Quindi, sicuramente nel mostrare le mie stanze vuote, i decori, i lampadari e nel restituire quell'atmosfera solenne e austera, Alain René è stato sicuramente importante. Quello che però in definitiva mi prefiggevo di fare era una piccola avventura in questo senso. Ho pensato spesso a film come Deliverance, cioè 3 personaggi antieroi che si trovano a unire le forze per uscire da una situazione pericolosa. La base in definitiva era questa.
Ok. He said that he had no direct influence, inspiration for the complex forms, and there are a lot of suggestions. He told about the Exorcist by Friedkin, in terms of more than horror stuff, more about the calm and the subtle atmosphere of the movie, and also also he thought a lot
Antonioni,
about Antonioni.
perché è un maestro della
Yes,
calma, no?
He is a master of calm, and he was very good at showing time passing. Also, Alain René from last year at Marienbad, which was a big inspiration with its because location is a character itself. Empty rooms, decoration, chandeliers, and a solemn and austere atmosphere. Also, he wanted, but the most important influence was from movies like Deliverance, because he wanted to film an adventure where 3 people, which was not heroes, were trying to make their way in a strange situation, and I think.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
great.
Excellente. Domanda 7. 7.
Going back earlier career, I know you worked on set design. I also read that you worked on various commercials, and I was curious if you might have any remember any commercials you're proud to have made or that you enjoyed making? Because I like the pre-film career information, as you know, understand that as best I can. So any like advertisements that you worked on that you think turned out really well?
Ti chiede del tuo passato pre-cinematografico, è molto interessato anche a capire il background che hai avuto guardando il tuo MDB nel citare in altri progetti.
Per spot e video, no? Se sono, quello che ho capito, se sono un po' fiero del...
Sì, se
Ma no, per me li ho sempre vissuti un po' come dei test, un modo per sperimentare con attrezzature che non potresti utilizzare per ragioni di budget, però non sono particolarmente legato a nessuna pubblicità o videoclip. Eh, devo essere sincero, in realtà non molto.
okay. He says he doesn't really, he considers them as tests and a way to experiment with things that you wouldn't be able to afford for budgetary reason. And he said that he's not very fond of them and not so much attached to them.
So fair enough. Yeah, I know that there's a composer, Michael Nyman, who looked at advertisement work he did as lucrative R&D. So I can definitely see that there.
Okay, let's go on
Michael Nyman, il compositore, sorry, I was saying,
Go ahead, yes.
considerava lucrative. Michael Nyman, the inventor of term minimalism. No, it was a journalist actually, who wrote about his music, I think.
Okay. Domande 8, correct? Alienation.
Alienation features prominently in the complex forms. Curious about what made you want to explore this particular kind of depression or mood, particularly seeing as the heroes are 3 older guys.
Allora, ti chiede da dove, diciamo, informazioni sull'alienazione che pervade l'atmosfera di Complex Forms e sul fatto che ci sono questi 3 uomini avanti con l'età e la depressione che hanno un pochino addosso questi personaggi.
Alienazione. Sì, l'alienazione è un concetto importante in The Complex Form. Mi sono riferito spesso al titolo di un'opera di Goya che si intitola Il sonno della ragione genera mostri, molto famoso. E penso che in questo caso è il sonno della speranza, l'abbandonarsi all'alienazione a generare i mostri, che puntualmente arrivano. Anche l'idea di utilizzare uomini anziani e soli è dovuta al fatto che, a mio parere, sono persone particolarmente a rischio di essere raggirate e sfruttate, persone che spesso la società frenetica dimentica. Quindi, poi ovviamente il concetto di alienazione si percepisce a più livelli, anche nell'atmosfera della villa. Credo sia comunque una sensazione necessaria per innescare, diciamo, i meccanismi, un po' quelli che sono i meccanismi che sono alla base del film. Sicuramente.
Ok, allora, alienation is a very important concept in the complex forms, and he quoted the very famous paint from Goya, the sleep of reasons generates monsters, and in the complex forms case, there much more than the reason, we are talking about hope and how when you lose it, you have monsters arriving. And so the street people are lonely men who are hopeless. They have no hope anymore. And also he choose this kind of man, this kind of aged guy, because they are often target of deceptions, and they are forgotten by society. We tend to forget them. And also, yes, the alienation is a very important thing to switch the movie, to switch the actions that you see in the movie.
Okay. So that was our pre-recorded questions. There's one more pretty important question I'm going to ask, which is, what is the future of the distribution of the movie in Italy or in the United States and the world?
Ti chiede del futuro di distribuzione del film in Italia o in altre parti del mondo?
Ma in Italia il discorso in realtà non si è ancora aperto, anche in parte per colpa nostra, perché appunto seguendo adesso i festival più stranieri non siamo ancora andati a bussare alle porte o non hanno bussato alla nostra. Ci sono dei distributori americani che stanno guardando, siamo in contatto e spero che si riesca a arrivare nei cinema americani. Comunque ha iniziato il suo percorso di festival e quindi spero anche adesso al Fantasport, ad esempio, tra poco a marzo, spero anche lì di agganciare delle distribuzioni. Ora così, ci sono due distributori americani abbastanza grossi che stanno guardando, ma vediamo. Italia per adesso è ancora fermo, non mi sono ancora mosso. Scusa Riccardo, è un po' lungo.
Ok, no, figurati. In Italy, he said we didn't knock to the various door that we could knock at, and because the movie is still going through festivals, and we are waiting to see what is going to come up from this from this course. And we have two distributors from USA that showed interest in the project, and but still the movie is walking through festivals. So the next step is going to be Fantasporto in March. So we'll see what happens after those dates.
Excellent. Okay, so nothing to announce. Still in festivals, Fantasporto in Portugal. Okay, so I think we are ready for just our final question, Giles, the restaurant question. Giles, would you like to set it up?
This is for both of you. We like to finish our interviews with our guests with the question, what is your hometown? And can you recommend a restaurant there?
Posso, Riccardo?
Dice qual è la tua città di origine, se consigli un ristorante lì.
Ok, allora, posso, Riccardo, inizio io. No, città di origine è Milano, però i ristoranti, diciamo, migliori che io avevo a Milano non ci sono più. Io adesso sono un grande fan del sushi, però ogni volta che vado cambia gestione, quindi non saprei neanche dirgli il nome del ristorante, però lo posso portare personalmente. Ma a parte questo, io poi, se sei d'accordo, dirotterei sulla Grissinopoli e lì parli tu.
Sì.
Ok?
Allora,
Ricordi, te dimmi che ti ripeto.
benissimo, benissimo. Allora, Fabio is from Milan, was born there, and he says that his favorite restaurants are now closed. He's a sushi lover too, but the management of these restaurants tend to change often, so he couldn't say where to go.
Adesso.
Also, he
Però li
was saying
posso
about
portare io.
Grissinopoli. Eh?
Greasy.
Dico, li posso
He was
portare io
telling
dal
about
giapponese, perché non so come
yes,
si chiama.
yes. He could bring you. He can take you to the Japanese, and also he said he was telling you about Grissinopoli. That is a special dish that they do in Turin. We went to eat it. It's a thick piece of meat fried in butter. No, in oil. But it's very
No,
good.
basta,
They do it
basta.
to a restaurant called Alba.
Mm.
So
Okay.
Gristinopoli in Turin, made by Alba, is what we
Yeah.
wanted to fix.
Greasy Napoli. So we have 1 minute. Riccardo, can you recommend a restaurant in Rome? Any restaurant?
Restaurant in Rome.
Hmm.
The restaurant in Rome. We have a lot of restaurants.
Yeah.
We I don't know. I tend to go to ethnic restaurant. I like so much Korean food, and I'm going to point your attention to Mamma Galbi. That is a Korean restaurant, very nice, and also it's a good one. It's also called Piatto Italiano, I guess, or Primo Piatto. It's in Testaccio.
Excellent. We are out of time. Arrivederci, gentlemen.
Thank